come upon the 9th anniversary of the September 11th attacks the next week. And it seems that the specter of those towers has not yet left our collective consciousness, nor should it. In fact, it was a terrible crime and will always be remembered as such, so long as we maintain our moral footing in this country and hopefully around the world. At the same time, though, those events have marked us in a way that has, should we say, been less than positive. I mean, all this talk, for example, of homeland. The word homeland is not something that was part of the American vocabulary before September 11th. The notion of a Department of Homeland Security would have been considered laughable before those events. That is not to say, though, that the word home is not something important, because this is our home. But a home is not only a place where one lives. It can be the place where one comes from. It can be an origin. The home for this country, though, is not to be found in a particular territory, or even perhaps in a particular time. It's not Boston, or New York, or Washington, D.C., or Pennsylvania. It's not 1776, or 1789, or 1865, or even 1964. No, the home of America, its true homeland, lies in an idea, a concept. It is the notion that at the end of the day, no matter how messed up we are as human beings, no matter how many mistakes we've made or opportunities we've lost, there is still this thing called liberty, or this other thing called justice, and maybe something called hope. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That's a powerful phrase. It's a powerful phrase because it denotes that there is something inherent in the universe and in us which exists beyond simply what we decide. From that basic premise springs forth the promise of a freedom that cannot be contained in rules or boundaries, that does not come from the letter of the law, but rather inspires and sustains the law. That's why the U.S. Constitution cannot simply be revoked or amended to such a degree that it is no longer recognizable as such. It does not matter at the end of the day what our elected officials choose to do with this Constitution that they've been given, because it is a reflection of something far beyond it, something much more essential. It cannot be, because the liberty, human liberty, is not a gift of any government. It is the very condition of our existence. As Jean Paul Sartre once wrote, we are condemned to be free. Thus there can be no effective state of absolute tyranny unless we choose to abdicate our responsibility as human beings to someone or something else. And as happened in the past, we have given ourselves as human beings over to communism or fascism or any other ism as a means to absolve ourselves of being human. Even in that, there is a choice, and that choice still exists, to rescind that abdication and to take back the responsibility of being a human being, which means that no matter how far things have gone, we can always take a step back, and we can always reclaim what we are. We now find ourselves within a political system besieged by corruption, ignorance, and weak-minded groupthink. Political leaders think not of the future consequences of their actions, nor how they might square with the home we all come from. Rather, they think of how to get elected, how to stay in power. That much is not a novelty, though. As much as we like to think of our age as special, Romans went through this, other empires have gone through it, other nations, other cultures. It's a period of rise and fall, decline, if you will. Anyways, present time may indeed be worse than others. But there have always been, and always will be, people who care only for self-promotion and the pursuit of self-power. We will contend with them 1,000 years from now as we contended with them 1,000 years before. The important thing, though, is that they not be in overabundance and have too much influence in our society. When the good people of our society, when those who seek the truth are outmatched and outgunned and have no voice, and those who are in it only for themselves have all the spotlight, then we have a problem, because then the truth has no outlet. Everyone wants their will to be done. Some just actually go out and try to make it happen. The thing is, their power to do so only comes through the cooperation of people, either passive or active. The Democratic Party, the Republican Party, all with their vast support networks and political pundits, represent the active party, while we, the nameless masses, apathetic to the course of history, may represent the passive party. All are nonetheless culpable because power does not exist in a vacuum. It does not sustain itself because no man is God. So what's the point of all this? Is it merely to suggest that while the political process seems to be in the hands of men and women who are incompetent, imprudent, and power-hungry, it is still within the grasp of an average person to change and mold simply by virtue of accepting or changing? So what is the purpose of all this? The purpose is merely to suggest that while the political process seems to be in the hands of men and women who are incompetent, imprudent, and power-hungry, it is still within the grasp of an average person to change and mold simply by virtue of accepting or challenging. That does not entail protests, boycotts, or anything else except engagement. As this shadow review develops in the coming weeks, months, and hopefully years, it will be there to remind you that there is always a choice that stems from who and what we are as human beings. No matter what some would-be charlatan, self-righteous savior, or straight-up tyrant might think. It's up to you. Always has been, always will be.